Once upon a time, there was a big town called Gold City. That area was known for its wealthy and elite individuals, politicians, doctors, lawyers, and successful businessmen and women. The city sparkled like gold day and night. In that city lived a young girl named Uju. Uju was so beautiful that she attracted the attention of both men and women. With her nice figure, she walked the streets of Gold City. Her long legs and graceful steps caused cars to stop and admire her beauty. The kind of figure Uju had was the envy of many women, some of whom even underwent surgery just to look like her. At the age of 24, Uju had a house and 2 luxury cars. She changed boyfriends as easily as she changed her clothes. Uju's parents were not rich, and she didn't have any wealthy relatives either. Uju grew up in a small village in the east with her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Okoro, and her 3 siblings. Her father, Mr. Okoro, was a police officer, and Mrs. Okoro was a petty trader. So Uju and her siblings were able to afford a basic lifestyle. At least, they were able to have 2 square meals a day, which was difficult for some. They even went to good schools and wore nice clothes. Things began to change when some young girls from the city came to visit the village. They had nicer things compared to Uju, like designers' clothes from brands like Louis Vuitton, Prada, and Dior. Uju knew she wanted those things. When she approached one of the girls laughed and said, "You are too young to play with the big girls. Now go home. I'm sure your mommy is waiting for you to cook soup." Uju's mother saw her interacting with those girls, and she disapproved of it, calling them Jezebels. Uju's mother saw other people's children as damaged, especially those who dressed in revealing clothes or dyed their hair. But she considered her own children to be saints. Throughout that week, Uju was troubled by her desires. Her mother noticed her change in mood and asked her what the problem was. Uju then said that she was just stressed about the upcoming exams. Her mother reassured her, saying that everything would be alright, and as long as she studied hard, that she would pass, and she would make sure to pray for her to pass her exams well. Being a very intelligent girl, Uju focused on her studies and passed her exams in flying colors, gaining admission into a good college in the city. When it was time to go to the city for college, Uju's mother wanted to take her shopping for new clothes, but Uju secretly wanted to buy more revealing clothes like the ones she had seen the city girls wearing. Instead, she told her mother to give her the money, that she would get new things herself when she got to the city. Her mother packed her a few supplies for the time being, and after a few days of preparation, Uju left for the city. As soon as Uju settled in her lodge, Uju went out to buy the clothes she wanted, along with some makeups and shoes. She already had a phone that her father had bought her when she had passed her exams. Uju learned some makeup techniques from YouTube and practiced on her face. On the day of her first lecture, she wore one of her new revealing outfits. As she walked, she caught the attention of some boys, and some even called her beautiful, something she had never experienced before. Soon, she got herself a boyfriend named Brian, who was in his final year of college. Brian was the son of a very wealthy politician and was considered the eye candy of the school. He began to spend on Uju, and a few weeks into their relationship, Brian asked her for sex, and she agreed. She had heard the other girls talking about it and that it felt wonderful. She too wanted to experience it. She and Brian had sex, and it continued throughout their relationship. When Brian left the school, he broke up with her because he was traveling abroad to further his studies, and he couldn't maintain a long-distance relationship. She was hurt, but she accepted his decision. One evening, she was returning home when a car honked and she stopped. The man said, "What a pretty girl like you walking by herself." Uju smiled and told him that she was returning from buying some groceries. The man asked if he could give her a ride and she accepted. As they drove, the man placed his hand on Uju's thigh. She was about to remove his hand when the man said, "I can give you $1,000 to have a taste of this body. Let's go to my house for the night." Uju's mind quickly calculated. That was over ₦1,000,000. She thought of the things she could do with that money. So she accepted, and they reached the man's house. The man gave her a drink and they talked for a bit. That was when she learned that the man's name was Tony. They were intimate the whole night, and by morning, Tony gave her the money. He even praised her for being sweet in bed. They exchanged numbers, and he told her that he would call her when he needed her. Uju was so happy for the money she had earned in just one night, and she now understood how those girls got their money. As the months went by, Uju was having more and more attention, and some of her customers were introducing her to other rich friends. Uju would have sex with them in return for good money. She no longer attended her classes as she was either traveling or too exhausted from her night activities. She would settle her lecturers with money or her body. Whenever her mother called to say that she wanted to visit, Uju would tell her not to come, that she would visit instead. She would buy special clothes that her mother approved of and wear them during her stay in the village. Her mother would ask her how she was doing in the city because she no longer asked them for money as someone who was in the university. She told her parents that she had a part-time job and that it was enough to cater for her expenses. Her mother was happy that she had a nice and considerate daughter, only if she knew what was truly happening. She and Brian still kept in touch, and he even asked her to be his sugar baby. She was with Brian even when she realized that he had a wife and children who were abroad. Uju had undergone several abortions even before Brian, and she had done a number of abortions for Brian alone. Brian stopped her from going out with other men except him, as he would give her the best life she wanted. One time, she got pregnant again, and when she told Brian, he told her to abort it. She did so without reluctance because she was not ready for a child, and she knew whatever she and Brian had were just fun. She went through with the abortion, and after a few days, she began to feel pain in her stomach. She went to the hospital again, did some tests, and then the doctor discovered that she had an infection in her womb. If it was not operated on immediately, she might die. Uju chose her life over her womb. She signed some documents and her womb was removed without her feeling any remorse. She soon graduated from university and remained in the city, where she started a boutique business. That was when she met Emeka, a young, handsome man who had just returned from the United States. It was love at first sight. Uju held her breath as she savored his cologne. He smelled so nice. No man had ever had that influence on her before. Emeka approached her as he also liked what he saw. Because of this, he visited Uju's boutique often, and not long after, they went on their first date. Emeka was smitten by her beauty. Emeka wanted a beautiful, young, hardworking woman who was also a good cook that he would marry. And when he met Uju, she ticked all his boxes. 6 months later, he asked Uju to marry him and she agreed. They went to see her parents and they fixed a date for their traditional marriage. Emeka came with his family and friends and they married Uju. Their marriage was going smoothly for the first year. Emeka wanted them to enjoy themselves during the first year of their marriage, and then they would have a child the next year. Fast forward to 5 years into their marriage and Uju had not conceived. Emeka was worried, and whenever he told Uju to go to the hospital, she would refuse, saying that they should wait for God's time. After 7 years, Emeka was not having it. He insisted that they go for a checkup in a week's time, and that he had booked an appointment with the best doctor in town. Uju was agitated. Throughout that week, Uju made the church her second home for the next few days. She cried and prayed to God for forgiveness and that he should help her as her marriage was on the brink of separation. She prayed for a miracle to happen. Emeka noticed Uju's demeanor and asked her if she was okay, and she said that she was fine. When they arrived, Uju knew what was going to happen, but she still went on to the hospital with her husband, putting her hope in God for a miracle. When they got there, they sat for consultation and they proceeded to do some tests, some of which might take a few days. The doctor told Uju to lie down so he could scan her stomach. As he did, his face changed. He looked at her, and the look she gave him told him that she knew their problem. He told her to go home and have a talk with her husband, because if he talked with her husband, it might not end well. When they got home, Uju made dinner and they ate, with her barely touching her food. As they went to their bedroom, she sat and told her husband that she needed to make a confession. At the word confession, Emeka sat upright. He listened with rapt attention as Uju talked. She told him about her past life and how she had been so careless, and as a result, she lost her womb in the process. "What?" Emeka thundered. "I can't believe you, Uju. I can't believe you hid all this from me. For 7 years we have been together, and you never said a word about this. Oh my God, you never even told me anything about your past. So I have been living with a retired prostitute as my wife. I can't take this." As he was talking, Uju tried to beg him, but he pushed her down. Tears were already streaming down her cheeks. "Please, my husband, forgive me," she said. We can adopt a child. Who are you to tell me what to do? Who are you to give me options? I don't want to adopt. I want children for my own loans." With that, he stormed out of the house. That night, Emeka did not return home, and it was like that for a few days. One morning, Uju woke up to the sound of the doorbell. She thought it was Emeka, but she was met by his lawyer, who had come to present her with divorce papers. Uju cried when she tried to call Emeka, but his phone was still switched off. Uju returned home and explained everything to her parents. Her mother fainted on the spot as she could not accept the fact that her daughter had been engaging in prostitution while in school. And now she's having fertility issues. Her mother was so embarrassed. She had always seen her children to be angels and others to be devils. But now it seemed she had the real devil in her house. Her parents were deeply disappointed. Uju lived with the guilt of her past choices. She still wanted to see if Emeka would come back to her, but she later heard that he had traveled back to the States to recover from the heartbreak. Uju signed the divorce papers and sent them to Emeka's lawyer. She then sold her house and her cars and went to live in an orphanage where she took care of children. The morals of this story: abstinence is the best policy, but if one must engage in sexual activities, the use of protection is crucial. It is a must. There are many contraceptive options available, and it is important to take the necessary precautions to prevent unwanted pregnancy that could lead to abortion or unwanted children. Uju had aspirations for a good life, but she did not pursue it in the right way. Every decision we make in life has its own consequences, and Uju paid dearly for hers. She will forever live with the guilt of her past choices. If someone has a difficult past, it is advisable to share it with your potential partners, spouse, or spouse-to-be. A stitch in time saves 9, and open communication can help prevent future heartaches. Even the Bible says, temptation comes from our own desires, which entices us and drags us away. So, let's not be slaves to our desires. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the story. Please don't forget to like, comment, and share. See you in our next one. Bye.